Hey everyone, welcome back. Get ready, pause. Today we're diving deep into the world of mediumship and spiritual communication.
That's right.
And to guide us on this journey, we're turning to the book 20 Lessons on Mediumship. Oh, you had a chance to look at this one?
Oh, absolutely. This is a fascinating read. It really delves into the mechanics of mediumship.
It does, right. It's not just about spooky encounters. It
Mhm.
actually provides a framework for understanding how we can connect with the spiritual world. So before we get too far, let's start with the basics.
Sure.
What exactly is mediumship?
Well, you can think of mediumship as this bridge, right, between the physical world that we experience every day and the spiritual realm.
Okay.
And it all revolves around this idea of the
The
paraspirit.
paraspirit.
Yeah, you know how we have our physical bodies?
Right.
Well, we also have this energetic body, our spiritual twin, essentially, that can interact with the spiritual world.
So it's not just some vague mystical idea, it's an actual energetic body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it has specific energy centers,
So interesting.
kind of like chakras.
Okay.
And these play a huge role in how we absorb and radiate energy. Imagine them like doorways within your perispirit.
Okay, so we're all walking around with these energetic doorways.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And these doorways are what allow communication to flow between us and the spirit world.
That's pretty wild when you think about it like that. But here's the thing that I found so interesting. The book doesn't present mediumship as some supernatural gift that only a select few possess, right?
Right.
It suggests it's something that we all have the potential for.
It's like a natural human faculty.
Sure.
But just like any skill, it requires development, it requires practice.
So how do we develop it? What's the first step?
Well, a lot of it comes down to prayer.
Okay, so it's not just about, lighting candles and hoping for the best.
It's more about intention. You see, when we pray, it's not just words, it's about focused thought.
Okay.
And those thoughts create a real energetic current, a connection to the spiritual realm.
So our thoughts actually have the power to create energy pathways.
That's what the book suggests.
Incredible.
It's like tuning into a specific frequency,
Oh,
And it's a two-way street. We send out energy, but we also receive it.
right.
The book gives some really beautiful examples of different types of prayer. Psalm 23,
Right.
Emmanuel's prayer.
Yeah.
Both powerful because of the focused intention behind them.
That makes me think about how we approach prayer, Like, are we coming from a place of gratitude or desperation? Does our mindset actually matter?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The book talks about the importance of mental preparation for successful mediumship,
Makes sense.
avoiding those strong emotions,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
cultivating a sense of inner harmony, even being mindful of what you eat on the day of a meeting.
Oh, wow.
It's all about aligning yourself energetically.
So it's like creating a clear channel for communication, getting rid of any static.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key concept. Fluids.
Fluids.
Fluids. Think of these as the currency of the spiritual world,
Okay.
They're these energetic forms that our perispirit absorbs and radiates.
So fluids are like the lifeblood of spiritual communication.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The quality of our thoughts, our emotions, it directly impacts the quality of these fluids.
Interesting.
Positive thoughts and feelings, they generate this bright, harmonious energy, right?
Okay.
While negative ones, they create this denser, heavier energy. You are what you eat.
Right. But for your soul.
Exactly. And that impacts not only our own well-being, but also how we connect with the spirit world.
Mm.
The book even talks about our psychic aura, the energetic atmosphere that surrounds us,
Right.
and that aura reflects our inner state. And it's through these fluidic exchanges, these auras interacting, that mediums and spirits communicate.
So it's not just about what we say, but the energy we bring to the table.
You got it. Now, are you ready to dive into some of the practical techniques of mediumship? The book talks about magnetic passes.
Magnetic passes.
Yeah, these are ways of directing spiritual energy. Kind of like a spiritual massage, if you will.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, there are different types. Some use the magnetizer's own energy, while others involve channeling energy from the spirit world. It's pretty fascinating stuff. And it really highlights how intertwined we are with this spiritual realm.
I can see how understanding these subtle energies could be helpful, not just for mediumship, but for everyday life too, like sensing someone's mood or even influencing the energy of a room.
Absolutely. Now, the book also goes into the phases of how a medium actually connects with a spirit during a meeting. It's not just a sudden takeover. It's actually a gradual process with distinct stages.
Okay, so walk me through those stages. I'm curious to know how this connection unfolds.
Sure. The book describes three main phases. First is the preparation phase,
Okay.
where both the spirit and the medium get ready to connect. It's like setting the stage for a conversation.
So it's about creating the right conditions for communication, both internally and externally.
Exactly. Then comes the approach phase. That's where the spirit moves closer to the medium.
Okay.
And then finally, the acceptance phase, where the medium allows the spirit to communicate through them. But the book stresses careful preparation is key here,
Why is that?
to avoid any energetic shocks or imbalances.
Oh, I see.
It's not just about passively letting a spirit take over. It's about conscious, responsible collaboration.
That makes sense.
And this leads us to a topic that can be a bit unsettling: obsession.
Oh, yeah. This is the part I've been both fascinated by and a little wary of.
Understandably. But remember, knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
The book defines obsession as a persistent, negative influence from a spirit. And it can manifest in some really subtle ways, affecting our thoughts, our actions, and even our spiritual practice.
So it's not just about spooky hauntings, but about recognizing when an outside influence might be affecting us negatively.
Exactly. And that's a good place to pause for now. When we come back, we'll delve deeper into the different types of obsession and, most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself.
Sounds good. We'll be right back.
All right.
All right, so before the break, we were talking about obsession, which honestly can be a little unnerving.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that gets people's attention.
It does. But the book, instead of just freaking everyone out, it actually offers a really nuanced perspective on it.
Right. It emphasizes understanding,
Yeah.
like what's really going on, how does it manifest?
Okay.
That's where the power lies,
Yeah.
in knowledge.
So let's talk about those signs. How can someone recognize they might be dealing with a negative spiritual influence?
Well, the book breaks obsession down into types.
Okay.
The first one is called simple obsession.
Simple obsession.
And this one is often the most subtle. It's like a persistent whisper in your ear,
Okay.
Influencing your thoughts, your actions, and you might not even realize it's happening.
So you might feel inexplicably drawn to certain behavior.
Yeah, or you might find yourself getting irritated more easily or angry, more than usual.
It's like having that little gremlin on your shoulder.
Exactly.
Tempting you.
Tempting you to make those bad choices. But the good news is, with this type of obsession, sometimes just becoming aware of it can be enough to break its hold.
So how do you become aware of it?
Well, strengthening your spiritual connection through prayer, through meditation, surrounding yourself with positive influences.
So it's like building up your spiritual immune system.
Exactly. Now, the second type of obsession, this one's called fascination, and this one's a bit trickier.
Okay, how so?
Well, this is where a spirit might disguise itself, you see,
Oh, wow.
as like a benevolent guide,
Okay.
leading you astray with false promises or misleading information.
Oh, so it's like that wolf in sheep's clothing situation.
Precisely. And what makes this one so difficult is that the person who's under this influence, they feel totally convinced they're on the right path.
Right, even if their actions are becoming harmful.
Exactly. They might become resistant to help, thinking anyone who tries to intervene is actually trying to hold them back.
So how do you help someone in that situation? I imagine that's got to be really difficult, both for the person experiencing it and for their loved ones, too.
Well, the book emphasizes that breaking free from this fascination, it often requires a combination of things,
Okay.
like external support, but also that individual's willingness to confront the truth.
So it's got to come from both sides.
Yeah, loved ones can play a crucial role here,
Okay.
expressing their concerns with compassion, understanding, offering that support without judgment.
So it's about creating that safe space.
Exactly, for them to question what they're experiencing,
Right.
to gradually see through that deception. Seeking guidance from experienced spiritual practitioners can also be super valuable.
Someone who understands these dynamics.
Yes, someone who can help that individual navigate this challenging situation with wisdom and discernment.
Okay, so you mentioned there's a third type of obsession that's even more serious.
Yeah, this one's called subjugation.
Subjugation.
And this is when a spirit exerts like a really strong controlling influence over someone's will.
So in this case, the spirit's essentially taking over.
It's a little more complicated than that, but in a sense, yeah, the individual might feel powerless to resist,
Wow.
and this is where seeking help becomes absolutely critical.
What kind of help are we talking about here?
Well, the book talks about various techniques,
Yeah.
like magnetic passes.
Oh, right. We touched on those earlier.
Right? Those involve channeling spiritual energy to loosen the spirit's grip, restore the person's autonomy. But it's important to remember that this is not a quick fix.
It's a process.
It's a process, yeah, that requires patience, compassion, and the individual's own determination to break free.
It sounds really intense. I can see why the book emphasizes ethical conduct so strongly, especially for anyone who's involved in mediumship.
Yeah. The book cautions against, neglecting your own moral development, getting caught up in ego, or seeking personal gain. Continuous study, self-reflection, and focusing on serving others is crucial.
It's a reminder that this isn't just about like spooky thrills. It's about recognizing the power of the spiritual realm and approaching it with respect and responsibility.
Exactly. And speaking of respecting the spirit world, there's this other concept I wanted to touch on called indoctrination.
Indoctrination. Okay, what is that in this context?
Well, remember we talked about how not all spirits are malevolent.
Right.
Some are just lost or confused,
Okay.
maybe attached to earthly matters.
Okay.
Indoctrination is about guiding these spirits, helping them to understand the spiritual reality, to heal and to progress.
So it's like a form of spiritual counseling for spirits who are stuck.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. The book outlines the objectives of indoctrination, things like clarifying the spirit's situation, awakening them to their true nature, encouraging them to embrace growth and evolution.
It's a very compassionate approach,
Yeah,
recognizing that everyone, even spirits, are on this journey.
exactly. And the methods used in indoctrination, they emphasize patience, tolerance, and respect,
Yeah.
appealing to the spirit's reason, their conscience, explaining things clearly, and avoiding any judgment or condemnation.
It's about meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
Guiding them toward that more enlightened perspective.
Precisely. And the book highlights that the indoctrinator needs to have certain qualities,
Yeah.
knowledge, experience, but also genuine compassion.
It's not just what you say, but who you are.
Exactly. Now, we've covered a lot here, but there's one more important point I want to make before we move on. The book really emphasizes this idea of discernment.
Discernment.
Yeah, especially when it comes to communicating with the spirit world.
So what does discernment mean in this context?
It means not just blindly accepting everything you hear in a mediumistic communication.
Okay.
Being a critical thinker, analyzing the content of the message, considering the character of the spirit,
So it's about developing that filter, separating the wheat from the chaff.
Exactly. The book cautions against being swayed by impressive titles or, pronouncements. Encourage mediums and anyone working with the spirit world to question, to cross-reference information, and always prioritize your own moral compass.
So even in the spiritual realm, you got to stay grounded.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And that leads us to this other intriguing concept that the book delves into, mystification.
Mystification. I've heard that term, but I'm not entirely sure what it means.
Yeah, so mystification happens when a spirit, often one with less than noble intentions,
Okay.
disguises itself as a higher being
Oh, wow.
to deceive, to manipulate, like a spiritual con game,
So it's like encountering a spiritual trickster.
Exactly. And the book provides some guidance on how to recognize and avoid this kind of deception, staying grounded in your own spiritual principles, seeking guidance from those experienced mentors, and never underestimating the power of intuition.
Trust your gut.
Trust your gut, yeah. Now, I know we've talked a lot about the potential pitfalls here, but I don't want to leave you feeling overwhelmed.
Right.
The book emphasizes that with the right knowledge, the right preparation, and ethical conduct, mediumship can be an incredible tool.
For healing, growth, connection.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So where do we go from here? What are some practical steps that someone can take if they're interested in exploring mediumship, developing their own abilities?
That's a great question. And actually, the book addresses that. It dedicates a whole chapter to the structure and organization of something called mediumistic meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, what are these meetings like? What's their purpose?
So these are structured gatherings, you see,
Okay.
where mediums come together to practice their abilities and connect with the spirit world, but in a controlled, supportive environment.
So it's not just a bunch of people sitting around waiting for spirits to show up?
Not at all.
Yeah.
The book describes this system where mediums take turns entering a passive state, allowing spirits to communicate through them. But there's a clear protocol for managing these communications.
So there are rules, there's a structure in place.
Absolutely. Ensuring the safety and well-being of everyone involved.
So it's like a carefully choreographed dance.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the book also emphasizes the importance of having a leader, someone who guides the session, ensures the integrity of the communications, and addresses any challenges that might come up.
So the leader's like that spiritual conductor.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Now, the book also highlights the importance of mental preparation for the mediums involved.
Okay.
Cultivating a state of calm, focus, and receptivity to allow for that clear communication.
That sounds like a lot of responsibility on their shoulders.
It is, but the book also acknowledges the other participants,
Right.
They contribute to the energy and harmony of the space, too.
It's a team effort.
Absolutely, a team effort. Now, I know you're probably wondering, how do you know who you're actually communicating with during these meetings?
Yeah. How do you identify the spirit?
Well, the book offers a multifaceted approach to this,
Okay.
analyzing the content of the communication, the spirit's overall character, and even the sensations that the medium experiences during the interaction.
So it's not just taking their word for it.
Not at all. The book cautions against being swayed by titles or pronouncements. Encourage mediums and the leaders to be discerning, to question, to cross-reference information.
It's about being that critical thinker, even in the spiritual realm.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that mystification concept. The book provides those valuable insights into recognizing and avoiding that deception, staying grounded in the principles of Spiritism, focusing on moral development, and seeking guidance from those who have experience and wisdom.
Not all that glitters is gold.
That's a great way to put it. Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dives, I want to circle back to those ethical considerations, something the book really hits on throughout. Mediumship is a gift, it's a responsibility, and a path of continuous learning and self-improvement.
It's not about personal gain or ego, but about using this gift to serve others, to promote understanding, and to contribute to something larger than yourself.
Beautifully said. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I'd like to leave our listeners with a thought. The book reminds us that the journey of a medium, or anyone seeking spiritual growth, it's not a solitary one. It's about connecting with others, seeking guidance, and trusting in those benevolent forces that guide us all.
Yeah, that's a really powerful message. We're not alone in this. And I think that really ties into what we were discussing about those mediumistic meetings, that sense of community and support.
Absolutely. And the book really highlights that, how those meetings are structured, the way they emphasize collaboration and collective effort.
So can we dive a little deeper into what actually happens during one of these meetings? How does the communication actually work? I'm really curious about the process.
Okay, so imagine a circle of people, right?
Okay.
Each person in the circle, they have their own unique connection to the spiritual realm,
Right.
and they take turns entering a passive state, kind of like a receptive state, allowing those spirits to communicate through them.
Oh, interesting.
While everyone else, they observe and they provide support. It's a very delicate interplay between the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah, it's almost like a sacred dance, wouldn't you say?
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And the book stresses that, even though the medium is the one who's channeling the communication, the entire group contributes to the energy of the meeting, the focus.
So it's a collective responsibility then to create that harmonious atmosphere.
It really is, yeah. And to ensure everyone feels safe, respected, comfortable. That's where the leader comes in,
Right. We were talking about the role of the leader.
The leader's crucial. They're like the guide, They ensure the integrity of the communication. They address any challenges that pop up, and they maintain that sense of harmony throughout the meeting.
They're like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure all the instruments are playing in tune.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now the question you're probably thinking is, how do you identify the communicating spirit during these meetings, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. How do you know who you're talking to?
Well, the book suggests this multi-layered approach,
Okay.
using critical thinking, discernment. It's not just about believing what a spirit says. It's about analyzing the content of their message, their character, even the sensations the medium experiences during the communication.
So it's like being a detective, in a way, gathering clues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the book really cautions against being impressed by titles,
Yeah.
or those grand pronouncements.
Mm.
It reminds us that appearances, even in the spiritual realm, can be deceiving.
Right. We've talked about mystification.
Exactly. And that's where those safeguards come in. Staying grounded in your own spiritual principles, seeking guidance from mentors, trusting your gut, If it feels off, it probably is.
So intuition plays a big role here.
Absolutely. And I think that brings us to a really important point.
Huh.
This journey, whether you're a medium or simply someone seeking spiritual growth, it's not something you do alone.
Right.
The book emphasizes that. We have the support of others, the wisdom of those who came before us, and most importantly, the guidance of the spiritual realm.
That's a comforting thought to know that we're all connected, that we're not alone in this. And I think that's a really beautiful note to end our deep dive on.
I agree. It's been a fascinating exploration.
It has. And thanks to 20 lessons on mediumship, I feel like we've gained some really valuable insights into the world of mediumship and spiritual communication.
Absolutely. Remember, this is a journey of continuous learning, growth, and discovery. So keep exploring, keep those questions coming, and stay open to the wonders that are out there.
Well said, and thank you so much for guiding us through this fascinating topic. I hope you all enjoyed this deep dive, and be sure to tune in next time as we explore another captivating corner of the spiritual world. Until then, take care.